locked on to News Hub Extra. We are still going to be touching on the ministerial lists or nominee, but we'll look at some other aspects or take a look at some other angles to it. I am particularly going to be looking at this part. Recall that I just spoke about Nyesom Wike, who was part of the G5 governors, who may have been seen as, to many people, they seem to be many things to many people, but then at the end of the day, they came through for the APC, particularly in states like Rivers State and Oyo particularly. I remember that on several occasions, the governor of Oyo State was at the presidential villa in the company of members of the G5, and the rumors, kept growing that, look, there's going to be some sort of compensation and all of that. And lo and behold, Nyesom Wike has been selected as nominated as one of the ministers designate. We're going to be talking with Dr. Bayo Adepoju. He's a member representing Ibarapa Central from the People's Democratic Party. We're still looking at TINUBU'S ministerial nominees list after the long wait. And first of all, were you impressed when you saw? You're welcome, though.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Were you impressed when you saw that list?
Well, I think I was impressed. Okay. I was impressed. And if you look at the list, it's a mixture of politicians and technocrats. And I think what we need at this time of our polity is people that can actually get the job done. So I was particularly very impressed about the number of women on that list, and I think these are
about 7 of them.
Yeah, about 7 of them.
Yeah,
and the list isn't ended yet. We have 28 names. We're still waiting for more. So I was very impressed about that gender balance and the quality of people that are on the list. I know you mentioned Nyesom Wike, and you were talking about him being a member of the PDP, and he came through for our president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But I think one thing we need to look at, first of all, is competence. I think the president is trying to build a coalition of competent people, and regardless of whatever party you come from, if he finds you worthy of being in one position or the other, I see no reason why he can appoint him.
But what role did the governor of Oyo State have to play in all of this, having Nyesom Wike selected as a member, a ministerial nominee?
Well, I think we all know the governor of Oyo State, His Excellency Engineer Seyi Makinde, and Governor Wike are very good friends. Whatever role he had to play about him for him getting to that position, I'm not sure what role he played. But one thing I do know is he's someone who is very big on justice, fairness, and equity. So I think he did just what's right. What I can tell you, as far as the role he played, in the run-up or in the build-up to the emergence of Nyesom Wike being a minister designate, but as far as I'm concerned, I think it's all about competence, and I find him very competent, and very diligent, so I think he's definitely capable of carrying out a good job for our nation.
All right, I am particularly, you have alluded to the fact that you're impressed with the fact that we have a sizable number of women on the list.
Yes.
I recall that the women leader of the APC was in the group of other women. We're at the presidential villa a couple of weeks ago, and they also commended the president for, the appointments he has made so far, the essays and all of that, having women come in and all of that. So how many more women would you expect? I know this is just speculation or guess at most, but with the 12 names being expected, do you think more women will come through? And if they don't, will you be disappointed?
Well, I think looking at where we're coming from, and looking at commissioners and states, past ministers, that have served this country, I think this is definitely a huge step in the right direction. Now, will he add more women? Well, if he finds them capable, doing the job. I see no reason why not. I think the goal is to have about 35%, meaning maybe one or two more may be added. But if he doesn't, I think he's done well. He's done very well. I'm not sure if any past president has ever, correct me if I'm wrong, has ever had these many women in.
I think Obasanjo may have come close. I don't have the number.
I don't think not seven.
Not seven. Yeah.
Definitely not seven. So that's 1/4 of what has been released so far. And if we have 25% at this point, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay.
Because,
so let's look at the average age of, I think the average age of those on the ministerial list cuts across 50, I guess, 50 and above.
Right about.
Yeah. As young people, we've seen the clamor of young people to be more involved in governance. Yes. We have I think we have just one person, one of the ladies, her name about age 38.
Right, about 37.
I think 37, we have another one at 41 and all of that. But then the youth representation, are you satisfied with that? Personally, I don't think I'm satisfied with it.
I think the youth can do more. I think the youth can do more, but these.
You mean us, all the executive, having more young people on that?
We can have more young people.
Okay.
I think the youths of this country, I think they're very capable, and I think going forward, I think we'll see more youthful population in governance. You see, these things take time. If you look at the way we run our educational system in this country, by the time you graduate from the university or the polytechnic or whatnot, you're right about 20-something. So you go to serve, you start to work, people notice what you can do, they notice your capabilities. It takes about 5-10 years. So I think going forward, I think the nation is ready to co-opt the youthful population into governance. I think that's a good thing. This is something that I know the governor of Oyo State, His Excellency Engineer Seyi Makinde, is very big on. If you look at the list of his commissioners and people that work for him, not just the commissioners list, people that work for him in terms of chairman of boards and parastatals and agents, you have very young people. So I think the things are changing, and I think it's trending in the right direction. So we can only expect something better going forward. So we're excited about where we are today, and we have a great hope for the future of this country.
Okay, let me put you on the spot a little bit. Okay. You have seen the list.
Yes,
and for some reason, I have a bias for whoever occupies the office of the Minister of Youth and Sports Development. Right. At least that's what we had in the previous ministry. I don't know what may be obtainable in this administration. Who amongst those you think should, if you know these people, do you think should fit into that? Because already we've seen the impact. The Super Falcons are, making a faraway Australia, even though they had a gamut of issues before going to that tournament. And we've seen what young people are doing in fintech and all of that, and so much more can be achieved. So who do you think should fit into that particular hole
amongst the
list of ministers we've seen so far?
Well, I think two things we need to take into consideration. Number one is the prerogative of the president.
Okay.
Number two is I don't want to preempt the president on what he's going to do, but one thing I'd like to say is the list is not ended yet. We still have more people coming in that will be sent to the Senate for confirmation. So who knows if the Minister of Sports is amongst the people that have been nominated as the now, or amongst the remaining people that are going to join them. We don't know. So I don't want to say this person is really fit, or I think they're all fit.
That brings me back to the question of attaching portfolios to the nominees. When I see a Lateef Fagbemi on that list, I can almost tell. I wouldn't be wrong to guess that. Look,
is that the Attorney General?
Where else would he be? Well, but I think that's the reason why we should have portfolios attached to the nominees, isn't it?
Well, you see, Lateef Fagbemi is not the only lawyer on that team.
Agreed.
So sometimes
when you look at performance and recent, he has been actively involved in practice, isn't it?
Well, that's very true.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we can't say he will be the Attorney General without, the president attaching portfolios to the names. So I don't want to sit here and say this person will be this or this person will be that. I think we just need to be a little patient with the president. The most important thing is we have found the president to be very law-abiding. I was very concerned about him missing the constitutional deadline, more than anything else. But he sent the names on time, and I'm very excited about what he's done so far. I think what we need to really concentrate on right now is how we can alleviate poverty in this nation. I mean, there's a lot of, we have a lot of impoverished people in this country, and I think we should be looking, first of all, how we can make things better, for the people of this nation. And even though the ministerial list is important because these are the people that will drive the policies, I think the most important thing is if people can ask themselves, am I better off today than I was within the last administration? I think then it's a step in the right direction.
No, good thing that you've mentioned, you brought up the issue of, you first of all mentioned patience. When you mentioned patience, it triggered me. And then moving further, you used the word elevating poverty and all of that. Now, you've seen, you're a member of the House of Representatives, so I'm going to take this advantage to put to ask you these questions. You've seen the near trauma Nigerians are in right now. And it's not far-fetched from the removal of fuel subsidy.
Absolutely.
As much as some of us understand why fuel subsidy has to be removed, but then how long will Nigerians have to wait to see that their lives become a bit more easier?
I think in the act of decision making, it's a painstaking process of making tough decisions. And when you go through that process, we all have to be ready to endure for a while. What that while is, I cannot say, because this is a process where the economic indices would decide. And I think if you look at the reason why the subsidy was taken out, let's take our minds back and look at the reason why we had the removal of the fuel subsidy. You would agree with me that it's definitely a reason we should have done this a long time ago. So all I want to say is I know things are really difficult for people of this nation, and I know I'm very optimistic that this will only be for a while.
Okay, when we say this, I understand. Yes. But a cross-section of Nigerians will still sit back and say, those in government are not doing so much to demonstrate this. When you talk about the cost of governance, and then you are a member of the House of Rep. Recently, we had the whole back and forth of 70 billion naira and all of that. So it becomes a little bit insensitive to the common man when they hear all of this.
Yeah. But you see, I think there's a misconception about the 70 billion naira, and I think that has been cleared in numerous times as to what it's meant for. Okay. So it's not money that is handed out, that will be handed out to members of the House of Reps or distinguished senators. It's money that is supposed to be used for other things beyond being handed out to the member or the senator. So if you go to the National Assembly right now, there's a lot to be done. This is a place where people have been there since 1999, and year in, year out, you have people occupying different offices. I can tell you, if you go there right now, you'll find some offices without the basic things for you to do your job. So there's a lot of renovation to be done, lots of things to be done. So it's not really money that will be handed over to us. So I can tell you that it may sound like a lot, but in this day and time, I don't think we need to be wasteful. So I think the president understands that this is not a time where we're in difficult times. So to say that money is appropriated just for us to take away, I think that's really doing us a lot of disservice. That's not what it is. What it's for. So I want to clear the air of that. Yeah. But at the same time, a lot needs to be done in this country, and I am super excited about where we are today, with the hope of a better country ahead. And I think with the crop of lawmakers we have now, with the goal of making this country better, and we have almost like a balanced house. Why I say that is if you look at the majority party, the minority parties coming together actually more than the numbers of the majority party.
Yeah.
It's never happened before.
Interesting.
So it means that this is not a house that's going to be a rubber stamp house. This is a house where we would really look at things properly before giving our nod. You know, so I'm excited about that. We've not had this before. And it just makes me feel, you know, there's really hope for this country. And I want to also, you know, implore members of the public as well, you know, to just be a little patient with us. And, you know, I know there will be significant improvement in how we do things, how we see things, and how we feel as the people of this nation.
All right, before we go, let's look at a very serious burning issue. Yesterday,
Okay.
I happened to be there myself. The Nigerian Labour Congress came for a meeting. Certain things were not clear, and they decided to walk out. And we have an impending, a looming strike staring us in the face right now. And one of the major issues is the talk about palliatives and all of that. So how do you expect, how expeditious do you think government should be about this in the face of the looming strike? And what form do you think this palliatives should take in the first instance?
Well, I think the first thing is nobody, this is not an argument. We all know there's a need for palliative. I think more importantly, there's a need for a permanent solution. Because if you say palliative, it means we're just trying to make things better for a while, you know. And I heard about the meeting that was supposed to happen. I heard about the walkout. I also listened to the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress this morning on TV. Yes, and he said they were there, the people from the government side weren't there, and, you know, I don't know what the truth is, you know, but I know there's a plan, there's a rescheduled meeting for Monday. I think I heard the chief of staff to the president called him. That was what he said today. I can't confirm anything besides what he said, and I'm sure they'll sit down and, you know, prefer solutions to these problems. Nobody wants to strike at this point. We want people to work and go about their normal businesses. And I also think that if you look at when you say how long is it going to take, this is something we needed yesterday. This is something we still need today. So when I put a time and say something like in the next month or two, I think I'll be doing a disservice to the Nigerian populace. You know, this is something we already need. I think we all just need to sit down, get things together, on the negotiation table, and move forward. I do not agree with the 10,000 naira added to salaries of civil servants. I think if you look at it in comparison to the percentage of inflation, I think that's pretty insignificant. You know, but at the same time, we also need to look at the source of income. So when you look at the source of income, then you can think about the application of income. You know, at this point, how much do they really have? What do they have? You know, and I think there's also a misconception about the savings that the country is having, because the money we use in subsidizing fuel at that time was actually borrowed. So it's not money that we had sitting somewhere and we're ready to share. You know, so it's just the fact that we're not borrowing as much. You know, so you can only spend what you have. You cannot spend what you do not have. So, you know, it's a problem, but I mean, when times like this come around, you need leaders that can really sit down and make tough decisions. And I think the leaders we have now understand that this is not something we need to put a time on. This is something that we need to do right now. So I think we'll all get things together and make things better for us.
All right. I'd like to thank you so much for coming through on the program. You know, typically Nigerians will say Honorable Doctor Adebayo. But let's just leave it at Honorable Adebayo Adepoju, member representing the Barapa Central PDP, for coming on the program. It's been wonderful having, and I hope in the next and in not too distant future, you'll be, you know, available to engage on various other discussions, if that is okay.
Most certainly, and thanks for having me as well.
All right,
nice talking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for joining us on the program today, and I hope that you're able to hear or listen or learn a thing or two. We'll be back with another interesting edition of News Hub Extra on Celebrate News 24, same time, same station next week. Until then, do have a wonderful weekend. It's from me, Aaron Denanga. It's bye-bye for now.